You ever have one of those mornings where the shop smells so much like cedar and motor oil that you just want to bottle it up and sell it as a cologne?
Pretty sure that's just called the smell of unfinished projects, Tiger. If you sold it, people would just buy it and then leave the bottle on a shelf for 6 months without ever opening it.
Ouch. Accuracy hurts, Alex. But you're right. I've currently got a stack of walnut over in the corner that's been staring at me since the Ford administration. I swear it's judging my life choices.
Well, today's show might give you the kick you need to finally cut into it. We've got a massive lineup. We're talking about humanoid robots taking over welding bays, the cold, hard math of actually making a buck in this game, and why every electrician needs a support group. Volts Anonymous, maybe?
Close. It's called electrician talk, and honestly, knowing some of the sparks I've met, they need it. But let's start with the sci-fi stuff first. Have you seen these South Korean shipyards?
I saw the headlines. Humanoid robots. I thought we were years away from that, but apparently, they're already pulling shifts in the shipyards. Is this the end of the line for the guys with the hoods?
Not even a little bit. See, here's the reality of it. These bots aren't there to replace the artists. Because let's be real, a high-end TIG weld is a piece of art. They're being brought in for the stuff that makes your joints ache just thinking about it. The dirty, dangerous, and dull. We're talking about crawling into a double-hull tanker at 3 o'clock a.m. in a space the size of a kitchen cabinet to lay down 60 feet of repetitive bead. If I could hand a torch to a robot for that, I'd take it out for a nice steak dinner afterwards.
So you're saying the robots get the backbreaking misery and the humans get to do the brain work?
Exactly. It's the same thing with Xeris Automation. They just put out this new pre-weld inspection system for tube and pipe. It uses algorithms to catch defects before the arc even starts. Back in my early days, I once spent 4 hours welding up a hydraulic manifold only to find a hairline crack in the raw stock right at the end. I basically spent half a day turning expensive metal into a very heavy paperweight.
I remember you telling me about that. You called it the world's most expensive doorstop.
It was. If I'd had a system telling me the metal was junk before I wasted the gas and wire, I would have had a lot more hair left on my head today. And speaking of growth, did you see Basic Metals is adding 42,000 square feet? That's a lot of aluminum and stainless moving through the system. The industry isn't just surviving, it's hungry.
Speaking of being hungry, let's talk about the electricians. You mentioned Electrician Talk and Electrical Contractor Magazine. Why is it so vital for those guys to stay in the loop? I mean, wire is wire, right? Don't cross the red and the black and you're fine?
Don't let an inspector hear you say that, Alex. They'll revoke your right to use an outlet card. Here's the thing about the trades. The National Electrical Code, the NEC, is basically a living, breathing creature that changes its mind every few years just to keep you on your toes.
Like a moody teenager, but with the power to burn your house down.
Precisely. If you're an apprentice and you're not hanging out on those forums, you're missing out on the secret language of the veterans. It's where you find out why that specific breaker keeps tripping in a way the manual doesn't explain. Moving from the guy who pulls wire to the guy who runs the job is all about that specialized knowledge. You have to stay compliant or you're just out of the game.
Okay, so we've got robots and sparks. But let's get into the part that usually makes makers break out in a cold sweat. The money. Tiger, you're a master at the bench, but you've told me before that your first few years of selling work were, well, financially questionable.
That's a polite way of saying I was basically paying people to let me build them furniture. It's a classic trap. You love what you do, so you think, well, the lumber cost $100 and I spent 10 hours on it. Let's call it 200. You feel rich for about 5 minutes until you realize you just paid yourself $5 an hour and you still haven't covered the electricity bill or the sandpaper.
So what's the fix? You mentioned a profit formula in the digest. Break it down for the person who's currently undercutting themselves on Instagram.
It's basic math that feels like a root canal, but it saves your life. First, materials plus labor, and yes, you must pay yourself a real wage plus overhead. That's your base cost. But here's where everyone fails, the multiplier. You've got to mark that up 2 to 3 times to get a retail price that actually allows you to grow.
A 3 gets markup? People are going to hear that and think they're robbing their customers.
I thought that too, until my bandsaw motor burned out and I realized I didn't have a repair fund because I was selling my work too cheap. That markup isn't greed, it's a staying in business tax. And don't forget the platform fees. If you sell on Etsy or through a card reader, they're taking a bite. You have to add that on top of your price, not pull it out of your profit.
And you're suggesting folks look beyond Etsy now too, right? 2026 seems to be the year of don't put all your eggs in one algorithm.
Look, Etsy is like a mall where the landlord can change the locks and keep your deposit whenever they feel like it. I love the traffic it brings, but if you don't have a Shopify store or isn't doing the local maker markets, you're vulnerable. You want to own your customer's email address. You want them to know your name, not just that shop I found on the app.
Okay, let's pivot to the weekend. For the people who aren't trying to build an empire but just want to build something cool, you saw that cabinet humidor project? That looks intense.
It's a beast. A humidor is the ultimate test of a woodmaker's patience because it's all about the breath. It's not just a box, it's a climate-controlled environment. You're dealing with Spanish cedar linings, which is a finicky wood that loves to move, and you've got to get a seal so tight that it sounds like a vacuum when you close the door.
On a scale of hanging a picture frame to building a cathedral, where does that land?
It's definitely toward the cathedral end of the spectrum. If you're not ready for that kind of commitment, I'd say look at those built-in desks everyone is doing right now. With so many people working from home, it's the highest ROI project you can do. You take a dead corner of a room, throw in some custom cabinetry, and a solid butcher block top, and you've just added $5,000 to your home's value over a weekend.
Plus, you get a place to sit that isn't the kitchen table.
There is that, and if you really want to treat yourself, go watch that 60 cool woodworking tools video. Half of those things I didn't even know I needed, and now I'm pretty sure my life is incomplete without a laser-guided center finder.
Every time you watch one of those videos, our tool budget disappears. It's like magic.
It's not a cost, Alex. It's an investment in future happiness.
Sure, that's what you said about the 1950s metal lathe that currently doubles as a coat rack.
I'm going to get that thing running this summer, I promise.
We'll see. All right, Tiger, wrap us up. What's the big takeaway for today?
Looking at everything from robotic welders to pricing formulas, it all points to one thing. This craft we do, whether it's for a paycheck or for the soul, it's about precision. Not just the precision of your measurements, but the precision of your business and your learning. If you stop being a student of the trade, you're just a guy making sawdust.
Deep for a guy who just admitted to owning a coat rack lathe.
Everyone's a critic. Go build something today, folks. Even if it's just a better way to organize your screwdrivers, just get out there and make something that didn't exist when you woke up this morning.
See you tomorrow, everyone.
Keep the blades sharp.